Ladies and gentlemen, today in our Meet the Luminaries series, we have the honor of welcoming a poet and author whose words have touched hearts across the world, Vinita Agrawal. Based in Indore, India, Vinita has authored 6 collections of poetry and edited 2 anthologies on climate change, making her voice both deeply personal and profoundly global. She is the recipient of numerous prestigious honors, including the Jayanta Mahapatra National Award for Literature 2024, the Proverse Prize Hong Kong 2021, the Rabindranath Tagore Literary Prize 2018, and the Gayatri GaMarsh Memorial Award for Literary Excellence USA 2015. Her poems have appeared in esteemed journals such as Global South, Pratik, Mascara Review, Indian Literature, Asian Cha, Voice and Verse, the Bombay Literary Magazine, Canary, Tabula Rasa, and many more. She has served as poetry editor of Usava Literary Review, co-edits the Yearbook of Indian Poetry in English, and is a member of the advisory board of the Tagore Literary Prize. Adding to her achievements, Vinita has now written for young readers with her latest book, Jade and the Harmony Flyers, a beautifully illustrated children's work that explores emotional intelligence through the imaginative lives of birds, teaching empathy, teamwork, and self-awareness in a language children can truly relate to. Her work reflects not just literary excellence, but a deep commitment to using literature as a force of insight, healing, and change. It gives me great joy to welcome the distinguished poet and author, Vinita Agrawal. Welcome, Vinita.
Hello, Irene.
Hello. Good to
Thank
have
you.
you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful introduction. And I'd like to thank Writers Capital Foundation, and I particularly appreciate this series of interviews. I think it's titled Luminaries, right?
Yes. Under the leadership of our visionary president, Preet Padmanabhan Nambiar.
Absolutely. Thank you, Preet. And thank you, Irene, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Let us talk about your extraordinary journey. Poetry has been described as the most intimate dialogue between the self and the universe. In your journey of 6 poetry books, what questions about existence have you found yourself returning to again and again?
Yes, you're right, Irene. Poetry is, in fact, a dialogue between the self and the universe. And also it covers all those great abysses of silence, through which we process our grief, loss, love, all the existential questions that we come across in our daily lives. So you asked me about what are those issues that I've been coming back to again and again. And I have to say, it is this whole thing about love, loss, grief, and longing, yearning, and so many existential questions that I feel I keep coming back to through my writing in different ways. I've been writing for a fairly long time now, so I try not to repeat my perspectives, but I do come back to these themes very often.
True. And you have won some of the most prestigious awards in literature. Congratulations for that. Do you see awards as affirmation of one's art or as reminders of the responsibility a writer carries towards society and culture?
That's a very good question. Awards and recognitions are like very encouraging for any poet, any writer. And one always feels validated, that one's work has been recognized. So yes, it is very rewarding that way. But I feel I agree with the latter part of your question more, that it is the awards make you more aware of the responsibilities you have towards society. And also you start believing in the power of words through these awards. It's the recognition is certainly there and it's very important. But more than that, it's the power of words that take you forward. That you believe that words can be a bridge between generations across times. And all these awards that you mentioned have helped me take the power of words forward. And myself as a poet, I've moved forward more than just the recognition aspect of it.
So true, a genuine literature.
Yes.
What does poetry mean to you? Not as a craft, but as a way of being.
It's very difficult to answer this question because this question can be answered in so many ways. But I remember a quotation I read about poetry, that poetry is like a lantern. It does not dispel the darkness, but it helps you to process it. And I feel that quotation, I don't remember who said it, but I feel that quotation resonated with me a lot. And I feel that poetry is indeed that lantern which helps you to process all your dark times, your difficult moments. And sometimes when you're in great pain and there's not much that you can do about the situation, reading a poem helps. And this is true for, globally true, and it's true for a very long time, because there was this Persian poet by the name of Hafiz in the 13th century. And he said that poetry can make you drop your sword. So poetry is so powerful that it can not only help you to tide over your difficult moments, but also give you another better perspective on how to approach life, like Hafiz said. So poetry, I find it very difficult to answer this question. But also I'd like to say that poetry is the most creative thing that mankind does. And also it helps to, it helps to give words to the silence that lives inside man. Let me put it this way.
This is so true. Poetry lives inside of us, right?
Yes.
We cannot think of ourselves without poetry. And so powerful, this symbol you mentioned of the lantern, it also resonates with me so beautifully and profoundly, because in ancient Greece, there were also philosophers talking about the lantern and the light. So beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you for using this particular quote. So good. Now let's go to your editorial work in anthologies on climate change. Your editorial work suggests a belief that poetry has a role in collective survival. In an age of ecological crisis, how do you see the poet's voice speaking to the conscience of humanity?
This is a very important task that poetry has ahead of itself, because as human beings, we're making a difference to this planet. And it's up to us to realize either are we making a positive difference or are we making a negative impact on the earth. So through my anthologies and through my commitment to writing poetry for the environment and for ecology, I try to sensitize the readers so that they can make a better positive impact on the earth and ecology and the environment. And it's very important that all of us become literary activists, at least in that sense, so that we can save the earth, we can save animals from going extinct, and become sensitive to the needs of the planet. Because there's a whole bunch of things happening in capitalism, broadly speaking, in capitalism through industries that is so detrimental to the health of the planet that unless literary activism or through fine arts or any kind of art, unless we make others and our readers and the audience very sensitive to these issues, we just might lose the battle in the end. So I really am very convinced about writing and sensitizing readers for the environment.
It is perfect, and that is why you are such an integral part of the Writers' Capital Foundation that has a vision and mission towards the betterment and improvement of the situation and towards protecting the environment. Thank you for trying so hard to, to sensitize, like you said, and to raise awareness. Thank you so much. And continue inspiring, of course. It's very, very important. We're all a chain in this one. Very, very beautiful. Now, I will turn to another theme, of course, again about writing. What is your process of writing? Do you approach the page as an act of discipline, or do you allow poetry to find you in its own time and rhythm?
After writing for so many years, it has now become a matter of discipline. I approach the page as a matter of discipline. In the beginning, when I started writing about 2 or 3 decades ago, I was more of an impulsive poet. When I was in that state of, great emotional turmoil, I would just put pen to paper and write something. It's not like that anymore. So my process of writing is that I need, I just write a few lines, whatever's coming out from inside of me at that point in time. And then I sit with those lines and try and make sense of them. I try and edit them. I believe in the process of editing. It's very important to invest your time and your skill and your craft in the process of editing a poem, because the editing is what gives the poem polish and a complete form. Otherwise, it's just a rambling of words initially. And then so after I finished editing, I leave it for a couple of days, come back to it and read it. And if I can read it in one reading without any jerks or jarring, stumbles, then I feel that the poem is kind of complete. And then I may edit it a couple of times more, and then it's done. So that's my process of writing.
Wonderful. So you think that inspiration is there, of course, and then we need to polish the whole thing, and that's where the skill of the poet comes. Perfect. And now let us indulge in one of your poems.
Okay.
See how it all goes with your rhythm.
Okay, thank you. I'd love to read for you. So recently, I've been kind of obsessed with seeds and the process of a seed sprouting. And I've ended up with a bunch of a dozen poems on the theme of seeds. So I'm going to read one of them. This one is titled Conversation with a Seed. Just the two of us here, sitting face to face. Me, a fleck of paused intention in a coat of dull brown, and you, cupped earth. Outside, goldenrod glowers acid yellow. In the spruce's long shade, rocks clutch their shadow rags. Even the granite's orange lichen sheds its skin. But here, in this damp silk of shaded afternoon, we touch the quiet. You think me small? Listen, this dark is patient craft, not like the gull's slow low across a clammy sky, not like the fireweed's unchosen, breezeless fall. This dark is rootward, deep and cool as spruce resonance, thrumming a different hum. I hold the blueprint of the acid yellow, the feathery grass head, the boulder's slow confession. I am the before of shadow, the after of the lichen's gold. London rains, Paris turns, but here, beneath the stain of one dead branch's russet, beneath the weight of years, the shift, the very stone, I am the constant yes against the world's persistent no. I am the quiet conversation the earth repeats with light. The husk holds firm, but deep within, a green ignites. Thank you.
How wonderful. So delicate, sensitive, yet powerful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Absolutely magical. Now, I'll take you to your book. What does it mean to you to have a book like Jade and the Harmony Flyers in your writing journey? Did it emerge as a continuation of your poetic vision or as a completely new expression of yourself?
Yes, Irene, it was a completely new expression of my writing genre. Here's the book. So Jade and the Harmony Flyers was a completely new branching out of my writing. I've been thinking of writing for children for a long time now. And I've always believed that there should be as many children's books available as possible, because children need to get into the habit of reading from a very early age. And I just happened to have coffee with Sahana Ahmed. She's the publisher of the book under Bare Bones Limited. So she was just kind of about to set up her company for children's literature. And I said, I've got something ready for you, and if you're interested, I'll be happy to share the manuscript. And she asked me, what is it about? And I said, it's about bird adventures, but from the perspective of the emotional quotients that children need to master at that age. For example, empathy and, processing their emotions and all of that. So we sat down and we had a couple of more exchanges, and then we kind of came up with this plan that let's design the book entirely on the emotional quotient required for children. So yes, it was a very new thing for me, but I had these stories ready for a long time, and I was looking for a publisher, and I'm glad that Bare Bones took it up, and the illustrations were beautifully done by Anvita Agrawal. So thank you, Anvita, for all the lovely illustrations.
It came out beautifully, true. In Jade and Harmony Flyers, you introduce children to concepts like empathy, teamwork, and self-awareness through birds, like you said, and their world. Do you feel literature can reach the innocence of children in ways that no formal education can?
100% yes, 100%. In fact, formal education is really not very significant as far as the emotional growth of a child is concerned. Formal education can give you knowledge and it can train your brain in a certain way. But growing up comes with a whole set of challenges. Children go through so much trauma with little things like bullying or being neglected or not knowing how to process the emotions that are inside them, and wondering what to do and where to go and how much to discuss with their parents. And when you transfer all these issues into a bird story, or not only bird, but any adventure story through animals or birds, children tend to grasp it more easily. And it makes them happy to know that a bird is also enduring the same thing that a human child is. So that kind of comes together so beautifully inside them. And they're able to learn these qualities of teamwork, empathy, leadership, and all of that, in the story form. So, which is why that was the main intention of writing this.
This is true. Children's hearts can relate to the innocence of animals. And especially birds, of course, that are so little and they need protection. And so it's a very great connection there.
Yeah.
And dear Vinita, having been published widely across international journals, how do you see Indian poetry in English shaping the global literary landscape? Is it still finding its place, or is it beginning to shape conversation of its own?
I would say that Indian poetry in English has arrived. It's no longer fighting for its place. It's in fact, it has a place of its own. And in fact, I want to share a small incident that happened just the other day. There was a launch of a book happening, and the publisher was from UK, and the writer was from India. And this writer had a number of blurbs from Indian poets for her book. And we were all a part of that launch. And then the publisher says that, the best blurbs come through Indian poets. The kind of language that Indian poets employ is unbeatable. It's way above all the other English poetry that I have read. I, in the sense, the publisher was talking about himself in his first person thing. So basically, he was just trying to say that Indian poetry is so rich and the language is so beautiful and the choice of words is so enriching and it's so generous. And that reflects in Indian poetry as well, not just the blurbs, but also in the way that Indians write and the way they've amalgamated their own local language into English. And English has a sort of a leaning of its own. It stands in a different way. It stands in a different light when Indians write in English. And all Indians have embraced English as their own. It's become like a skill set with them. So it's Indian poetry in English is really up there. I think it's just one of the best.
Yeah, I would say that you have used the medium of the language and enriched it with the ancient culture and with the emotions that pour out from everywhere, and it as an amalgama of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You have often spoken of the deep connection between literature and humanity. Do you believe a poet is, in some sense, always writing for the future, perhaps for readers not yet born?
Well, I would say it's a bit of that. It's not entirely for readers not yet born. So much of poetry takes from the past. It leans into history. It leans into the struggles of a person's past, a nation's past, the past that the entire, the world has faced or the universe has faced. So poetry is as much about the past as it is about the future, as it is about the present also. It addresses itself to issues that humanity grapples with on an everyday basis. And at the same time, there is one aspect of poetry, and I won't say it's just the speculative fiction poetry, but poetry as a genre of writing. Poetry does address itself to the future because sometimes it's not understood that easily in the present times. And if you read it 2 decades later, then it just makes sense to you, and then you know what the poet was trying to say. So in that sense, poetry lends itself. A lot of Kamala Das's poetry, for example, it is incredible. She was an amazing woman poet, and she was ahead of her times. Her poetry is bold and uncaring of the kind of values that society in her times may have followed. So she has, she's sort of overcome all those inhibitions and written in a way that a woman of the future might have written. I feel Kamala Das's poetry is definitely ahead of its times.
I quite agree with you. I think the poet has the gift of putting in the concerns and the beliefs or the hopes of the future and brings everything to the present for both contemporaries and the descendants to indulge into it. Thank you for this approach as well. Wonderful. And let us indulge now in one of your own poems.
Thank you again. So this is a short poem. It's titled Concealed. I am the drop that echoes in the cave's black throat, the salt that lingers after the wave has gone. I am the map of flame a moth circles. I am a prayer the glass blower cannot shape. I am what remains when thirst is quenched. Only trust discerns my outline. I return as the glaze inside the clay. When held with love, inside a kiss, I become lightning, the charged breath, the detonated pulse. One touch, the sky cracks open. One swallow, the earth remembers rain. Thank you.
How beautiful.
Thank you,
Wonderful, Vinita. Thank you for these beautiful verses. And now, if you had to distill your entire literary journey into a single thought for those listening to you today and tomorrow, what would that thought be?
It's difficult to condense your entire life's poetic journey into one thought. But since you've asked me the question, I would say, believe in yourself is the thought that I would carry with me. Have faith in your abilities, in your craft. Do what feels right to you. Always approach anything you do with kindness and love. And believe in yourself. That's what I would say.
Absolutely beautiful and real. And to us educationists, it resonates even more because this is what we say every day to our students. Be yourselves.
Yeah.
Show your own light. Don't expect.
Absolutely. Yes, you're saying it better than me.
I'm just taking the thread. That's it, my dear.
Be
and
your own light. Yes.
Be your own light. So one of the verses, yes, so beautiful. And now, would you dedicate another poem to our viewers today?
Thank you. I'd love to.
We would too.
Thank you. So this is another one of my seed poems, like I was mentioning, I've written a lot about seeds. And there is this seed called fonio, Fonio, which is a native to West Africa. And it's a very hardy kind of a seed. It doesn't ask for much, but when it yields the harvests, it is quite amazing. So I found the fonio very, very inspiring and very amazing. So this poem is about the fonio seed. Fonio, a grain so small it holds the sky lightly. It does not ask for rain, only remembers it. The soil here is tired, but the fonio is not. It grows where other grains turn away, where the earth splits in the heat. Survival is to bend without breaking, to be ancient but not fragile. A child could spill a handful and not know they held entire harvests. Generations of hunger satiated between their fingers. The women winnow it like whispers. Let the wind take what it needs. When the fires come, the fonio waits. When the floods pass, it remembers how to rise. It does not boast about its resilience, but simply grows. This is how the universe began, not with a star, but with a seed. Thank you. Thank you.
So beautiful. And this is the power of resilience, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a resilient seed. That's the word. Yes.
That's the thing. Wonderful.
Yes.
And you have planted those seeds of resilience.
Thank you, Irene. You're very gracious.
Within your books. How impressive. Wonderful. We thank you sincerely, my dear Vinita, for sharing your remarkable journey and the luminous power of your words with us today. Congratulations on your extraordinary accomplishments, from your acclaimed poetry collections to your inspiring work for young readers. Your voice resonates across cultures and generations, reminding us all of the powerful impact literature can have in shaping empathy, understanding, and hope. We're truly honored to celebrate you in our Meet the Luminaries series. Thank you so much for having you here today.
Thank you, Irene. You're very great, very generous with your words, and I appreciate all that you've said and all the questions. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here.
Keep inspiring humanity, my dear. People
Thank you.
like you are needed. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.